I think the process would start first with a clear mind and a kind of a relaxed atmosphere. You need pressure, but you need pressure from the right type of people or the right type of problem. So if you have a problem that is in keeping with what you want to work on, that's good. But you also need to have the right environment to kind of relax. The more relaxed you are, the more, what should I say, more easy it is for your mind to work on a problem. If you have someone who could define the problem to you before you start, or issue give you like a problem statement, say in my case it was make the geometry kit. So then that became my problem statement. But I have again, we are very blessed with a beautiful environment where you can sit down in the garden and watch the squirrels and get distracted and allow yourself distractions, because you never know while you're being distracted, you kind of be as observant as you can to pick up solutions from nature somewhere. And invariably your solutions will come from nature. Creativity stems from creation, which would, like that picture you see, that guy's seen, he went on a trip to Peru and whatever he observed, he put into a painting. And he literally, what should I say, made a tangible record of what he saw and what impressed him. And that was that beautiful painting that's one of a kind. So that's something you've got to be as observant as you can. Then you do come up with solutions. You analyze existing solutions and you see why they're not as good as they should be, or whether you can tweak them, whether it calls for a drastic change. And then you ask, do you need to actually do something this way, or is there a better way to do it? If you ask yourself those questions early on, you kind of come up with, it sort of automatically goes with the flow, your solutions to your problem. Is that a reasonable answer, Kari? You let it go with the flow. Yeah. When you're explaining something to, especially concepts of beauty, one is, beauty is a concept that it's inherently in our genes. They can recognize beauty. Like a woman will always, even if she's blind, will always dress meticulously. Not like guys like us, we men tend to be a little shabby, but a woman will always be meticulous in her dressing, although she can't see herself. So in a way, this concept of the understanding of beauty, we are programmed as human beings to understand it. So the responsibility would lie with you to explain that this Heart of the Andes picture is a picture of nature from a sighted point of view. It depicts beautiful trees, old, young, erosion, stream. You describe it like that, and the rest is left to the imagination. When you're describing a picture like this, you're okay as far as leaving it to the imagination, but when you're describing other things, then you have to be extremely precise so that you don't leave them imagining one thing and you think you've explained it well, and it's something totally different and unrealistic to them. So the responsibility of explaining as clearly as you can lies with the person who's doing the explaining. If there are tactile equivalents, of course, Heart of the Andes doesn't have a tactile equivalent, but if there are things that you can explain, like for instance, you're explaining a pet or something, you take them and show them, give them a dog and a cat and make them feel the difference between the fur of a dog and a cat, you should do that. You provide them with a tactile alternative to sensing, to understanding what they're feeling. If you can do that, as a high priority that you do that. And there's no, what should I say, no guarantee that there's any correlation between what you're explaining and what they're understanding. There's no way to understand that they've understood what you're explaining. So it's like Sabriya says, we create our own reality, and their reality may be a far more exciting reality than the Heart of the Andes itself. As beautiful as it is for us, they may have a far more beautiful reality that after you've explained it to them. I started, my mom was here, started encouraging me when I was a kid. And she brought me all these tools and carpentry tools and all. In those days, we didn't have much entertainment as such. So we had to make our own toys and all that. So I learned all these things regarding how to do things, how to actually make stuff myself. And over the years, I've got a huge workshop, my own workshop, where I can actually produce a lot of these things myself. And I know how it could be done and then outsource the work to someone else. Probably the single biggest motivating factor, if you can get over the emotional aspect of being rejected, is when someone tells you you can't do something or it won't work. For a creative person, that should be an instant trigger to prove them wrong. And if you can kind of harness that, the negative of someone putting you down is actually a huge positive for a creative person. If you can just, okay, this one on this top left, where is that?
The red one.
This one is an all wooden prototype of a Braille cell. This is all metal. This is metal and plastic. This is all plastic. This is also all plastic. So you can working with wood is absolutely no problem. Working with these acrylics and plastics and all, no problem. It's kind of easy. But use that as a takeaway. If someone puts you down and says you can't do something, that's what should unlock the creativity within you. Actually, that's a huge problem. And someone sent me a picture of the Indian Railways. They put a wash basin here and something else there and all that. And it didn't really make sense because you can read wash basin here, but where? And then to make matters worse, it says no, contactless thing, flush or something. I've forgotten, you put your hand there and contactless thing, dispenser, soap dispenser. So now when you have those type of things, that's a definite no-no for someone who's blind. This contactless is out. You have to have touch. You must start with some sort of system in mind when you're explaining things like that. You don't put Braille signage all over the place and expect them to, like for instance, a Braille map at the Chennai station I saw. Little things here, this. They have no concept of space. So this whole thing of anything being spatially oriented and all, you don't use type of signage like that. You actually go from one to another where you can actually feel point A and you can feel going to point B. And same with describing something like a tree or something. You would start with the trunk, but you would also need to have like a continuous sequence of tactile indications to move from the trunk to the branch, and then another thing, labeling what you're feeling now. And if you put your hands around it, it's like a thing, like a big, like a trunk, like a pillar type of thing. It would be similar to feeling a pillar and things like that. You would need all those multiple levels of explanation. You don't just say leaf here and this and that and all that. You don't do all that. You actually follow a sequence, and you don't break the sequence so that they know where one cue will lead to the next cue. You don't have randomly placed cues and say, okay, exit here. That exit means nothing to them. You have a tactile marking all along the wall and say, tactile, that's how you do it. So you don't have random things like that. It's all about touch. It's a nice theme that you all have picked. I like the mechanical horology, the clock, the perpetual calendar. I like that. It becomes kind of, you lose interest in invention once it's finished and done with. So in terms of favorite, I would say the current favorite is the geometry bucket because it's so uncomplicated. And whereas the Braille display was severely complicated. But while I was doing the Braille display, I thought I was thrilled with every part that was misbehaving, and I could tweak it a little bit and all that. It was such fun. It happened. I had like I said, I used to avoid these. When I saw someone, I used to feel so awkward, I would cross the street. So it just happened that way. And like I said, the whole Braille display was conceived in ignorance. I was trying to understand Western music and how does a musician understand. So you kind of be observant as much as you can, and you might get inspiration in a totally unrelated field where you are clueless, and you just take what comes. Because in this field of creativity, you don't box yourself into, I'm going to be only creative in this realm. You know, I'm only going to be a chef or something. You could be an architect, you could be a chef, you could be an engineer, you could be a photographer, you could do anything. But you could be a photographer today and an architect tomorrow. That also is acceptable because you never limit creativity within a box. See, if you are in a position where you're kind of stable enough to be able to deviate off course, then, and you kind of, what happens is when you set yourself goals and targets, you kind of eliminate the whole, I would say the broad spectrum of creativity is eliminated, and you narrow your focus to just what your goals and targets are. And the problem is, in our limited thinking, our goals and targets may not be where our actual ultimate potential lies, which I discovered myself. Like education, conventional forms of education is a strain for me, so I can't go that way. But I can teach myself anything. If I'm interested in a subject, I can just switch and change, and I could pick it up just like that. So if you're in a position where you're stable, and you can afford to change course and it won't affect your livelihood or say your prospects of going where you want to go, and you don't mind taking the risk, then I would suggest that you allow you'll observe things that interest you. And it's normally what interests you that kind of steers you gently in the way that you should go. Things that you find fascinating, things that you find exciting, things that kind of actually touch you on the inside. Those things are where the nudging will take you, where if you allow yourself to follow the flow, will take you. If you set yourself goals, then it's a different thing. Then it's kind of, then you have this problem of if you don't reach your goals, you have disappointment. How do you get over the disappointment? And it's a struggle all along. Reaching a goal is always a struggle. But you might reach the goal somewhere else without any struggle, which is a nice way to go if you have the ability to deviate off course. So my dad was a very traditional textbook type of fellow, get a job, 9 to 5, go this way, that way, and your ultimate objective, be a manager in the company type of thing. Mom, on the other hand, was the other type who told me to jump out of engineering college if you're finding it horrendous and it's so traumatic and you're going so far, chuck up this college, why are you wasting your time and all this and all that. So I had two extremes. In my case, through I would say maybe divine ordination, which I never asked for, but my dad passed away young. And so while assuming sort of the family responsibilities in the family, I didn't have, from that point on was just at my tail end of my engineering college, I didn't have to deal with that problem of going the traditional way anymore. And Mom would encourage me to do anything I wanted always. And so I had no problem over there. And she would get now and then tense, when is this project coming to an end? When is this project coming to an end? And I had this hilarious thing I wanted to tell you about. I had to make a 1-minute acceptance speech for an award I got from some NCPDP or something like that about a year ago during this COVID time. And to make a 1-minute speech, I just couldn't do it. I'm not exaggerating. I have at least 40 takes, video recordings of that 1-minute speech, everything, every time I goofed up. I don't know how I've spoken for so long without goofing up. But this 1-minute speech, I just could not do. So on the last day, the deadline came and I couldn't get my speech organized. This is 1 minute, just to say thank you for giving me an award. That, I couldn't get that out properly. I asked Mom to record. I was in my torn shorts. This is This is the atmosphere that's very conducive to being creative. Torn shorts, dirty banyan, wandering around in the garden, looking at some plants and all. I told Mom to take my camera and record my 1-minute speech. So I told her, I'm going to use this award to buy myself some new clothes and make myself presentable. But I made a 1-minute speech effortlessly, which is all ridiculous. And that was it, okay? That didn't go down with all my neighbors and friends and anybody. I uploaded it on YouTube and then they got a lot of gali. But on the other hand, when Mom was, she was kind of checking out my 1-minute speeches when I made the 40 failed speeches, blood pressure would be going up because I'm forgetting my lines, okay? And then suddenly all sorts of obscenities, and I'd burst out laughing. That was the end of any ability to make any speech. But that's kind of atmosphere that we have at home, which is very conducive to being relaxed and working without any stress and all that. You can laugh, you can have fun, you can just kind of do what you want. And that's what it was at home. Brothers, I have 2 brothers. Both are totally different from me. But they have been encouraging also, no problems. So encouragement goes a long way to fostering and nurturing creativity.